My husband's mistress saved my life. I never thought that I would be grateful to the person who destroyed my marriage. Now, sometime after what happened, I can say for sure that my relationship with my husband was just a marriage, but certainly not a family. We met at a mutual friend's wedding. At first I didn't even pay attention to him. Outwardly, he is the most ordinary guy. I preferred a little older man, and with a young man we were the same age. We were both 25 years old. Sergey offered to accompany me home. I agreed. Since then we began to live together in my apartment. Our relationship developed very rapidly. After 8 months, I became pregnant. The child was not included in our plans, but Sergey made me an offer. They decided to play a modest wedding, but with an exit registration and a beautiful dress. At the time, it seemed to me that Sergey was not ready for such an act. I repeatedly said, "You don't have to marry for the sake of a child, it will not lead to anything good." He joked that my hormones were playing. I was saying nonsense. Unfortunately, in the second month of pregnancy, I lost my baby. I was very upset about the loss of my baby. Sergey supported me. It was he who insisted that we still get married. We signed in the fall, and in the winter we planned to fulfill our old joint dream and go to Lake Baikal. We booked a hotel in advance, bought plane tickets, found out how to get to the lake from the city where we will arrive. This year was clearly not on my side. Just before the trip, I got very sick with a sore throat. I had a temperature under 40, which I could not bring down for several days. Sergey was upset and even angry with me. "Why couldn't you take care of yourself before the trip?" Again she wore a hat without a hat. I suggested that he fly alone or take a friend with him, not to postpone the long-awaited trip because of my illness. The husband grumbled for several days, but one did not go anywhere. We did not give up the idea of a trip to Lake Baikal. We decided to postpone our vacation to the beginning of summer, but this time to go there in our own car. After the new year, discord began in our family. Sergey became somewhat nervous, constantly staying at work. I tried to talk to my husband. He said that I was inventing everything. He just has a lot of work. He takes extra shifts to save up more money and have a decent summer vacation. My mistake is that I believed my husband and tried just once again not to bother me with my inquiries and showdowns. It seemed to me that everything would come to its senses by itself. Everything cleared up in May, just a couple of weeks before the vacation. After work, I drove to the mall and refreshed my wardrobe a bit before the trip. I came home and immediately began to try on things in front of the mirror. Sergey came almost immediately after me. I ran out in front of him with satisfaction. "Look, what a sexy swimsuit I have now, and a hat. Well, am I really pretty?" The husband somehow looked at me angrily, and said nothing. I thought he was not happy that I spent so much money and said, "I received the award and decided to please myself a little. Vacation is coming soon." He was silent. I was looking for something in the chest of drawers where the documents were. "Sergey, what happened? Is there something at work?" "Soon vacation, there we will take a break from work." "We'll not rest," he said. "Don't they let you go on vacation?" "What happened? Can you explain?" "Don't bother me. There will be no vacation together. I'm packing my things now and leaving you. It's all over our marriage." I was standing in the middle of the room. From what I heard suddenly came nausea. I sat down on the sofa. "Are you kidding me?" Some kind of unsuccessful joke. I didn't even realize right away that he was speaking very seriously. No, I'm going to another woman, I'll file for divorce later. I sat in silence with a stone face. He took documents and some things from the closet. I'll pick up the rest of the things tomorrow, now I'm in a hurry. He left and I sat there in a state of shock. Now it became clear to me what additional shifts my husband was taking and who he was working on. I called a friend and asked her husband to try, to whom my husband had left after all. A friend's husband was friends with Suresha, they went to volleyball together, perhaps he could explain everything to me. A friend called back an hour later and threw me a link to this girl's social networks. I'll throw off the link now, my husband doesn't really know anything. The girl at one time went to volleyball with them, so she is his friends on social networks, that no one knew everything seriously between Sergey and her, everyone thought of a fleeting affair. I immediately went to her page. The girl's name was Lilia, she was 20 years old. It turns out she is 7 years younger than me. Beautiful, spectacular, with a third breast size, you cannot pass by this without turning your head in her direction. My husband took all the things and returned the keys to my apartment to me, said that he would file for divorce after the vacation. He did not tell me anything, but I learned from friends that she and Lilia were going to Lake Baikal together. It turns out that the girl not only took my husband away from me, she also took away from me the opportunity to fulfill my dream. All these days I felt terrible. It seemed to me that I was somehow flawed and therefore my husband left me. I sometimes hated him and her with all my heart, then I forgave and blessed their relationship. Everything was complicated by the fact that I had to spend the long-awaited vacation at home. On the first day of vacation, I got up early, perhaps out of habit to get up early for work. I had a headache. I just wandered around the apartment from one corner to another, trying to find something to do, but there were no ideas. My throwing around the apartment was interrupted by a call from a friend. Hi, do you already know? Hello? What do I know? About Sergey. If you were talking about the fact that he and his mistress went to Lake Baikal, then I have known for a long time, I sneered. No, I'm not talking about that. You stand. Sit better. So, Marina, don't go around the bush, talk. Marina told me that Sergey and Lilia had a car accident on their way to vacation. The driver fell asleep at the wheel, flew into the oncoming lane and flew into them. Neither Sergey nor the girl survived, she died on the spot, and he was on his way to the hospital. I went to her page on social networks, just a couple of days before the tragedy. She posted a photo with Sergey and signed it, "Towards an adventure with your beloved. Baikal, wait for us, we will be there soon." I cried. I was very sorry for Lilia, so young and beautiful. Perhaps I could have been in her place. It turns out that by taking my husband and my vacation from me, she gave me life. Officially, I was Sergey's wife. We never had time to file for divorce. Out of respect for his mother, I helped organize his funeral, but I didn't go to them myself. I don't know if I did the right thing, but quite recently he betrayed me. There was still resentment inside me. The whole month I lived in a fog. It was very hard for me morally. From friends, I learned where Lilia was buried and decided to visit her grave for 40 days. The day before, I went to a flower shop and bought white roses in a beautiful pink pot. I don't like cut flowers, there is no life in them. A beautiful satin black bow was tied to the pot, and it turned out to be a very beautiful composition. I do not know what Lilia loved flowers, but I think she would have liked my bouquet. I got up very early, only the sun rose. I could not sleep that day. I decided to go early, until the relatives arrived and her. The cemetery was quiet and calm. I almost immediately found her grave. It was strewn with flowers. I stood at the grave for a long time and tried to start a conversation, but the right words never came to me. I wanted to speak out, to leave all grievances here and now, to finally start life from scratch. I didn't hear a woman come up to me. Hello, I thought I'll be the first, but it is clear that someone else is not sleeping. Are you my daughter's friend? Good morning, you could say that, I said, without going into details. And you know, the one because of whom she lies here, because next to it is buried. There, she gestured towards Sergei's grave. After a pause, she continued. She became attached to him, as if she was bewitched. My father and I told her, he is married, he has a family, leave him alone, do not anger God. But she didn't listen to us. She kept repeating, he married her only because she became pregnant, but the child was not born that way. Soon he will get divorced, we will get married. He does not need her at all, he loves only me. Okay, a man would be handsome, so the most ordinary half of the city of free walks like that. Oh, daughter, why do we need all this? The woman began to cry. I went up to her and hugged her. I never thought in my life that I would find myself in such a situation. At the grave of my husband's mistress, I will comfort her mother. My husband knew how to powder his brains. Outwardly, yes, the most ordinary man, but if he just smile and start a conversation with you, then you start to fall in love with him. Lilia was a very beautiful, spectacular girl. I understand Sergei why he chose her. I stood a little longer near Lily's grave, said goodbye to her mother and went back to the car. I couldn't talk with Lilia, but I mentally thanked her that by destroying my family, by doing so she saved my life, because it is likely that on that very morning in that car I could sit next to Sergei. Walking through the cemetery on an early cool morning cheered me up a bit and brought me to my senses. The fog in my head cleared away, I began to come to my senses. I am doing well, I married a colleague, I am raising a daughter. I forgave everyone and let them go, rest in peace. If you liked the story, then like it and subscribe to the channel, there is still a lot of interesting things ahead.